If you want to reach a massive financial milestone, like saving your first $100,000, the worst thing you can do is leave it open-ended. Most people fail to build wealth simply because their goals are incredibly vague. They tell themselves that it would be amazing to have a six-figure bank account as fast as possible, but they never attach a firm deadline to that dream. When a target is indefinite, it could take you 6 months, or it could take you 50 years. And usually it leans toward the latter. That is exactly why you need a definitive, highly structured blueprint. There are 6 fundamental steps you can start executing today to dramatically accelerate your saving and earning potential. The numbers behind this strategy are foolproof, and adopting this system can completely alter your financial trajectory. The absolute cost to start doing this is zero, but the return on your time is massive. The first crucial move is to define exactly how much money you are chasing and the precise window of time you are going to give yourself to achieve it. A strict deadline forces action and eliminates the illusion that you have unlimited time to get your finances in order. To make this highly actionable, let's build a realistic timeline and assume you want to stack up that $100,000 over the next 3 years. When you just look at the grand total, it feels like an impossible mountain to climb. But the secret to tackling massive numbers is breaking them down into microscopic pieces. Over a 36-month period, you need to set aside roughly $2,778 every single month. If that still feels a bit too heavy to process, let's slice it up even further. On a weekly basis, you are looking at saving about $641. Bring it down to the daily level, and your target is just $91 a day. Zoom all the way in to an hourly rate, and it comes out to roughly $3.80 saved every hour. Framing your target in these bite-sized increments completely shifts your mindset. Instead of being paralyzed by a giant 6-figure ambition, you can simply focus on finding small, practical ways to generate or preserve a few extra dollars each day. It transforms a distant fantasy into a simple, mathematical daily quota. Of course, you hold the power to stretch or shrink this timeline based on what fits your current lifestyle. You don't have to follow the 3-year plan rigidly. You could easily aim for 4, 5, or 6 years. For instance, saving just $60 a day over a 4-year span and investing it in the stock market at a historical average return of 8% will push you right past that finish line. Suddenly, hitting that massive goal could literally just be the result of skipping an expensive dinner at a high-end steakhouse or avoiding overpriced drinks downtown. It is all about the small behavioral trade-offs. The ultimate goal is to ensure your entire financial future doesn't get derailed simply because a trendy restaurant launched a new endless appetizer special. You have to protect your momentum. By carefully defining both the monetary target and the exact deadline, you build an invisible shield around your daily financial decisions, making it far easier to say no to random discretionary spending. Once you have locked in your exact dollar amount and your non-negotiable timeline, it is time for the second critical step, starting immediately. This sounds like basic common sense, but it is deeply unsettling how many individuals craft a brilliant financial game plan, get incredibly hyped up, and then do absolutely nothing. It is dangerously easy to invent excuses. People will say they have a friend's destination wedding coming up, or a major holiday is around the corner, so they decide to wait for the storm to pass. The harsh reality is that the perfect time never arrives, and those who delay are usually the exact same people who never start at all. You possess the absolute highest level of energy and momentum in the exact moment you decide to pursue a new goal. If you can capture that initial excitement and force yourself into immediate action, you bridge the gap between motivation and discipline. Turning that spark into a solid habit that lasts a few weeks is the ultimate secret to surviving the long game. Now that you have your timeline locked in, the real magic happens in step 3, tracking the actual flow of your capital. You need to create an account on a financial tracking app that pulls all of your credit cards and bank statements into one central, easy-to-read dashboard. The massive advantage here is that when you see every single transaction updating in real time, you immediately spot those hidden death-by-a-thousand-cuts expenses. Most people have absolutely no idea where their paycheck disappears to. In fact, the average person blows around $20,000 a year on completely non-essential discretionary purchases. Think about how easily it sneaks up on you. Maybe you are dropping $1,200 a year on quick coffee runs, $150 a month on impulse clothing buys, $400 a month on takeout, and another $50 a month on streaming services you haven't watched since last summer. Just cleaning up those areas alone hands you hundreds of extra dollars every month to throw directly at your ultimate savings goal. To take this a step further, you need to transition into budget optimization. The rule here is simple. Audit your spending relentlessly over the next 30 days and brutally cut anything that does not bring you genuine value. Studies consistently show that the absolute easiest areas to trim are dining out, brutal credit card interest, fast fashion, and purely habit-driven convenience purchases like grabbing snacks at the gas station. Just think about the sheer amount of control you have over these categories. Simply deciding to grill a steak at home instead of paying a massive premium at a high-end restaurant or picking up drinks at the local market instead of an overpriced downtown bar fundamentally changes your cash flow. If you ensure you never pay a single cent of interest to your credit card company, all of those little adjustments start compounding. Before you know it, you are retaining a massive chunk of your income with barely any noticeable shift in your daily happiness. At the exact same time, you still have to actually live your life, and nobody wants to be completely miserable just to hoard cash. If you want to keep your current lifestyle but still accelerate your savings, you have to adopt a specific mindset. How can I acquire the exact same experience for less money? Take your car insurance, for example. If you sit down for just 30 minutes and shop around, I guarantee you can find the exact same coverage level with a different provider for a significantly lower premium. You have to actively challenge your recurring bills. The exact same logic applies to your internet package and your mobile provider. People let these bills auto-renew for years without ever questioning the price. Simply calling their retention department and asking for a loyalty discount or a new promotional rate is often enough to instantly shave a decent percentage off your monthly overhead. You can apply this exact negotiation mindset to almost everything you purchase. Instead of paying out of pocket for your annual vacation, you can strategically use credit card sign-up bonuses to cover your flights and hotels completely free of charge. But here is the most critical wealth-building principle you need to internalize. Optimizing your current expenses yields a far higher return on investment than simply working more hours to earn extra cash. Let me break down the math. Every time you earn an extra dollar, that dollar gets heavily taxed, and you might have associated commuting costs or work expenses. Realistically, you are only keeping about 75 cents of it. This means if you want to blow $60 at a restaurant tonight, you actually have to go to work and earn about $80 pre-tax just to fund that one meal. However, if you simply skip the restaurant and cook at home, you get to keep that $60 in your bank account, completely tax-free, to invest in your future. But this is only scratching the surface, because there is an even more powerful wealth-building habit you need to adopt, and it is called paying yourself first. Usually, the traditional approach to managing a paycheck is to pay your bills, spend some money on having fun, and then cross your fingers hoping there is a little bit left to throw into a savings account. That turns your financial future into an afterthought. Paying yourself first completely reverses that cycle. The moment your paycheck hits your account, you automatically divert a set amount straight into your investments or savings, and you are only allowed to spend whatever is left over after that. By the way, while we are on the topic of building better financial habits, what is the one everyday expense you find the hardest to cut back on? Let me know in the comments below, and if you are finding this breakdown helpful, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to Kyle Invests. Setting up this automated system is crucial because for the vast majority of people, the core issue isn't actually how much money they make, but rather how much money they allow to slip through their fingers. To really understand this, we have to look at how people manage their incomes. It makes sense that a large portion of people earning $60,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck, simply because covering basic living expenses is tough at that level. But here is where the math gets wild. A staggering number of people earning $250,000 a year, more than 4 times that amount, are also living paycheck to paycheck. The income bracket most likely to be stretched entirely thin is actually those earning around $120,000 a year. This happens because of a silent wealth killer known as lifestyle inflation. As soon as someone starts earning more money, their spending naturally expands to match their new income. The person making 60 grand spends 60 grand, and the person pulling in 250 grand finds a way to spend 250 grand. They get trapped in a cycle where they have to constantly earn more just to fund an increasingly expensive lifestyle. If you automate your savings right off the top, you force yourself to adapt to living on less, effectively neutralizing lifestyle inflation before it can ruin your progress. Now that we have the proper foundation, let's dive into the core strategies you can use to slash your expenses and keep more of your cash. The absolute biggest drain on the average person's budget is housing. If you can find a clever way to reduce your living costs, you are already halfway to your goal. Obviously, this requires some effort, but the payoff is massive. You might consider renting out an unused bedroom to bring in an extra $900 a month. If your lease is up for renewal, negotiate with your landlord for a better rate, or be willing to relocate to a slightly more affordable neighborhood. For homeowners, contest your property tax valuation if the market has shifted, and relentlessly shop around for better home insurance premiums. Even lowering your energy consumption by adjusting the thermostat can make a dent. If you tackle your housing costs aggressively, you could easily free up an extra $30 every single day, which creates a massive compounding effect on your journey to a six-figure bank account. The next major wealth drainer is transportation. Right now, a standard monthly car payment is sitting around an absurd $800. If you want to accelerate your wealth, you need to step off that treadmill immediately. Unless your specific profession absolutely demands a luxury vehicle, your best move is to buy the most reliable, fuel-efficient, and affordable car you can find in cash, and drive it until the wheels fall off. By eliminating that massive monthly payment and shopping around for lower insurance rates, you can easily retain an extra $25 a day. After you fix your commute, you have to look at taxes. In the United States, the average single worker gives up roughly 29.9% of their income to taxes. That means you are spending nearly a third of your entire working year just to pay the government. This makes it absolutely essential to understand basic tax codes. Hiring a highly competent accountant might seem like an extra expense, but they can easily uncover deductions and strategies that keep thousands of extra dollars in your pocket every single year. The fourth major category we need to attack is food. Research shows the average person blows around $7,200 a year on groceries and dining, which breaks down to about $600 every single month. Shockingly, over $350 of that is usually spent just on eating out. Now, I am not here to guilt trip you for enjoying a good meal at a restaurant. If going out with your friends once a week brings you joy, you should absolutely budget for it and enjoy it guilt-free. The real financial trap is laziness. I am talking about buying a $25 overpriced lunch near your office every single day, simply because you didn't feel like packing a meal from home. That is a massive wealth destroyer. If you can just eliminate those lazy convenience meals and prep at home, you could easily save an extra $10 a day. That might not sound like much, but those small daily victories quickly compound into massive savings over a year. Fifth on the list is something that absolutely crushes your ability to build wealth: toxic debt. Right now, the average credit card balance is hovering around $8,500. When you combine that with average interest rates pushing 25%, you are literally throwing over $175 a month straight into the pockets of the credit card companies for absolutely nothing in return. To escape this cycle, you have to be relentless, strip your budget down to the bare essentials, and throw every single extra dollar at the credit card with the highest interest rate. You must treat high-interest debt like an absolute emergency. Once you finally clear that balance to zero, that entire monthly payment becomes free cash flow that you can channel directly into investments. Until you reach that zero balance, eliminating high-cost debt has to be your number one financial priority. The sixth area where money leaks out is your wardrobe. The average person blows around $150 a month on new clothes. If that sounds like you, do yourself a favor and look deep inside your closet. Be brutally honest about how many of those items you actually wear. Most of us wear the exact same handful of outfits 90% of the time, while the rest just collects dust on a hanger. You simply do not need to shop as much as you think you do. Cutting back here is incredibly easy and highly effective. Between housing, transportation, food, debt, and clothing, you could easily be retaining an extra $50 to $150 a day, depending on your specific situation. But what if you have trimmed all the fat and you still want to accelerate your savings? That brings us to the ultimate lever: expanding your earning power. Before you jump into a side hustle, your biggest and most immediate opportunity is actually your current job. Step up, ask for more responsibility, prove your value, and negotiate a higher salary. However, if your current employer refuses to budge, your next best move is to pack up and take your skills elsewhere. Data shows that people who strategically switch companies can boost their income by around 40% over a few years. Think about it. If you are making $70,000 right now, making a calculated leap could easily put you at nearly $98,000 in the near future. That entire difference can go straight into your savings. Finally, you can always leverage your free time with a part-time job or a dedicated side hustle. It doesn't have to be glamorous or make you a millionaire overnight. If you can lock in something that pays just $20 an hour, working a mere 2 hours an evening adds up incredibly fast. Over the course of a year, that small daily effort translates into an extra $14,000 in your pocket, just for utilizing your downtime effectively. As your skills sharpen, that hourly rate will only climb higher. To finally cap off this wealth building journey and actually lock in that $100,000, there is one supreme catalyst that acts like a cheat code: investing your capital. Now, I will be completely transparent. Trying to guess what the market will do next week or next month is basically gambling. Short-term movements are entirely unpredictable. However, if we zoom out and look at the historical data, the S&P 500 has reliably delivered an average return of about 8% over the last century. Putting that into a real-world scenario, if you are aggressive and want to hit your six-figure target in exactly 3 years, you would need to invest roughly $2,450 every single month for 36 months. Do that consistently, and boom, you have crossed the $100,000 finish line. If that monthly figure feels a little too intimidating, all you have to do is stretch your horizon. By simply extending your target date to 4 years, the math gets much friendlier. At that point, you only need to invest around $1,770 a month, which breaks down to about $58 a day. Push it out to a 5-year plan, and your burden drops to $1,370 a month, or just $45 daily. And if you give yourself a solid 6 years to reach the summit, you only have to find $1,060 a month. That is just $35 a day. Suddenly, that massive six-figure dream doesn't require a lottery ticket. It just requires you to find $35 of daily value through the budgeting and earning strategies we just talked about. The longer you let your money work, the less heavy lifting you actually have to do. Once you actually cross that magical barrier, something incredible happens. The legendary investor Charlie Munger famously pointed out that accumulating your first $100,000 is the hardest part, but after that, your net worth simply begins to explode. That is the sheer power of compound interest taking the wheel. Your capital starts generating its own income without you having to clock in for a single extra hour. Just think about this. If you leave that $100,000 invested in the market, earning that historical 8% average for the next 30 years, it will multiply into over $1 million. I am not going to sit here and pretend that sacrificing your daily luxuries to build this foundation is easy. It requires real discipline. But the core reality is that it is entirely possible for anyone willing to execute these small daily habits. The entire formula rests on taking action today, not tomorrow. You start with tiny adjustments, like cooking at home or negotiating a bill, and watch them snowball into life-changing wealth. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, make sure to drop a comment below and tell me which everyday expense you are planning to cut back on first. I'd love to read your strategies. See you in the next video, and remember, stay smart with your money. Take care.